what is truly funny about the human experience. We spend the vast majority of our lives acting like soldiers on a battlefield when we were actually invited to a playground. We spend most of our years pushing massive boulders uphill, sweating and straining, fully convinced that if we just push harder, if we just grind more, if we force the issue with enough intensity, we will finally get what we want. We have been conditioned to believe that life is a fight and that nothing good comes easily. We wake up every morning putting on our invisible armor, ready to do battle with the traffic, battle with our bosses, battle with the economy, and even battle with our own families. We treat our desires like fortresses that must be besieged and conquered. And then, one day, usually when we are completely exhausted and broken, we simply stop pushing. We step aside because we have no strength left to fight. And in that moment of surrender, the very thing we wanted rolls right up to our feet, like it was waiting for us to get out of its way the whole time. It is wild, isn't it? But listen closely, because I need to tell you something that might sound absolutely contradictory to everything you have been taught in school or by society. Stay with me, because this truth is going to change everything for you. All that struggle you have been dealing with, all that resistance, that heavy feeling like you are swimming upstream in molasses while wearing a heavy winter coat, is not necessary. It is not because life is inherently hard or cruel. It is not because you are not good enough or smart enough. It is not even because you are unlucky. Although I know it certainly feels that way when you are facing your 17th rejection or another month of unpaid bills. No. The real reason is simpler and somehow even more frustrating to the human ego. You are struggling because you are trying to play a game by the rules of a battle. You are pointed in the wrong direction. I see you there, nodding your head. I know you are thinking about that job you hate, but cannot seem to leave because you believe you must suffer to earn a living. You are thinking about that relationship that drains you, but you keep trying to fix it because you think love requires sacrifice. You are thinking about that business idea you are forcing into existence, even though every step feels like walking through wet cement. You are tired. You are so incredibly tired. And someone probably told you that being tired means you are doing it right. They told you that struggle builds character. They told you that no pain means no gain. And I am here to tell you that this is the biggest lie ever sold to humanity. Since when did suffering become a prerequisite for happiness? Since when did God, or the universe, demand that you must be miserable before you are allowed to be blessed? Here is what nobody tells you. Struggle is not a sign you are on the right path. Struggle is not a badge of honor. Struggle is a clear, loud signal from your intuition that you are out of alignment. I know what you are thinking. You are thinking that this sounds too easy or too mystical. But hold on, because I am not talking about magic tricks. I am talking about spiritual mechanics. Think about it like this. You know how a river flows. It does not struggle. It does not wake up in the morning and grit its teeth to get to the ocean. It finds the path of least resistance and it flows. And what happens when a giant rock tries to block it? Does the river stop? Does it give up? Does it start a war with the rock? No. It goes around. It adjusts. It stays in alignment with its nature, which is to flow. And eventually, it gets exactly where it is going. Sometimes, it even carves canyons through solid rock. Not by forcing, but by persistent, aligned movement. Now, I am not saying you are a river. You are way more complex than that. You have dreams and bills to pay and a past that haunts you. But the principle is exactly the same. When you are in alignment with your true nature, with what actually lights you up, with where you are genuinely meant to be going, things flow. This does not mean life suddenly gets easy in a lazy way. It means you are moving with the current instead of against it. It means the wind is at your back. The great mistake we make is believing that we can force our good to come to us. But you cannot force the door of the divine design. You cannot manipulate your way into your destiny. The Bible says the battle is not yours, but belongs to God. This means the heavy lifting, the arranging of circumstances, the opening of doors, is not your job. Your job is to stand still and see this out. Your job is to align your mind and your actions with faith, not force. When you push, you are operating from fear. You are telling the universe that you do not trust it to deliver. So you have to grab it yourself. And the universe responds to that vibration of fear by giving you more things to fear and more things to fight. But when you stop fighting, when you drop the boulder, you are not giving up. There is a massive difference between giving up and letting go. Giving up comes from despair. Letting go comes from faith. When you let go, you are saying that you trust the process. You are saying that you know what is yours cannot be taken away from you, and what is not yours, you do not want anyway. This is the secret door to success. It swings open only when we stop pushing against it. We have spent so much time looking at the closed door, banging on it, crying in front of it, that we haven't noticed it opens outward, not inward. We have to step back to let it open. So, as we go through this journey together today, I want you to mentally put down the weapons you have been carrying. I want you to put down the heavy armor of cynicism and the shield of defensiveness. We are going to explore how to stop fighting a war that does not exist so you can start playing the game you were born to win. We are going to learn how to shift from the heavy energy of force into the magnetic energy of flow, because the truth is, you were never meant to struggle your way to success. You were meant to align your way to it. And the moment you understand this, really understand this in your bones, the war is over and the victory is already won. Now that we have established that life is not meant to be a battlefield, we must understand the fundamental law that governs this truth. This brings us to one of the most misunderstood concepts in the entire realm of spiritual success, which is the law of non-resistance. When most people hear the word non-resistance, they immediately think of weakness. They imagine a doormat that lets everyone walk over it, or a person who has no ambition and simply drifts through life. But that is the exact opposite of the truth. Non-resistance is actually a state of immense power because it is the only state in which you are fully aligned with the divine design of your life. You see, there is a divine design for every single person walking this earth. There is a specific place that you are to fill that no one else can fill. There is something you are to do which no one else can do. This design is a perfect picture in the divine mind, often usually obscured by our own doubts and fears. But it is there, waiting for us to recognize it. When you are moving toward this design, when you are doing the work you are uniquely built for and living the life you were created to live, you are supported by the entire universe. You are swimming with the current of a mighty river. Resources appear before you need them. The right people show up at the exact right moment. Ideas drop into your mind with crystal clarity. This is what we call the flow state. But spiritually, it is simply alignment. However, when you try to force things that are not part of your divine design, when you try to be someone you are not because your parents wanted it or because society told you it was impressive, you encounter friction. This friction is what we call struggle. We need to completely reframe how we view struggle. For generations, we have been taught that struggle is a virtue. We wear our exhaustion like a badge of honor. We tell each other stories about how hard we fought, how much we suffered, and how difficult the journey was. But in the realm of metaphysics and spiritual law, struggle is not a sign of virtue. Struggle is feedback. It is the universe's way of knocking on your door and telling you that you are off course. Think of it like the GPS system in your car. When you miss a turn, The GPS does not get angry at you or judge you. It simply says, recalculating. Struggle is your spiritual GPS saying, recalculating. It is an indicator that you are trying to force a square peg into a round hole. You are trying to manifest a reality that contradicts your own nature. The law of non-resistance teaches us that what you resist persists. If you hate your current situation, you are binding it to you with bands of steel because you are giving it your full emotional attention. If you fight against your poverty, you are focused on poverty, and you will create more of it. If you fight against your loneliness, you are vibrating with the energy of lack, and you will repel love. Resistance is a form of faith in the undesirable. It is a belief that the obstacle is more powerful than the opportunity. But when you practice non-resistance, you stop feeding the problem with your energy. You look at the obstacle and you say to it that none of these things move me. You withdraw your emotional engagement from the struggle. And by doing so, you starve the problem of the energy it needs to survive. This is where the divine design comes in. The divine design is the path of least resistance, not because it is lazy, but because it is true. When you are in your right place, you are efficient, you are effective, you are brilliant. Think about the greatest geniuses in history, or the most successful people you admire. Do they look like they are suffering through their work? Do they look like they are dragging themselves through broken glass to create their masterpieces? No, they work hard. Yes, but it is a joyous work. It is a labor of love. They are tired at the end of the day, but it is a good tiredness, a satisfied tiredness, not the depleted, soul-crushing exhaustion of misalignment. That is the difference between working from force and working from flow. If you are currently facing a situation that feels like an uphill battle in every direction, take a moment to ask yourself if you are trying to outsmart your own soul. Are you trying to force a door open that the universe has shut for your protection? Are you trying to hold on to a relationship or a job that has already served its purpose and expired? The struggle is not there to punish you. It is there to protect you. It is trying to make it so uncomfortable for you to stay in the wrong place that you are finally willing to let go and move into the right place. The divine design is always a design of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. God does not design failures. The infinite intelligence does not create mediocrity. If you are living a life of limitation, it is only because you have not yet aligned with the pattern of perfection that is already yours. Stop fighting the old. Stop wrestling with the shadows. Turn your back on the struggle and turn your face toward your own unique path. When you stop resisting what is and start aligning with what can be, the entire machinery of the universe shifts gears to support you. You move from the battlefield to the playground. And that is where the magic happens. To truly understand how to move from a state of struggle into a state of success, we must look away from the chaotic world of human affairs and look toward the perfect order of nature. Nature is the greatest teacher of the law of non-resistance. And nowhere is this wisdom more visible than in the movement of a river. I want you to close your eyes for a moment, if you can, and visualize a river flowing down a mountain. This river has a destination. It is being pulled by gravity toward the ocean. It has a purpose, and it has a direction. Now, imagine what happens when this river encounters a massive boulder blocking its path. This is the crucial moment where nature diverges from human behavior. When the river meets the rock, it does not stop. It does not argue with the rock. It does not get angry and ask why the rock is there. It does not try to smash through the rock with brute force in a single moment. And most importantly, it does not give up and turn back up the mountain. The river simply yields. It accepts the obstacle as part of the landscape. It immediately adjusts its course. It flows around the left, or it flows around the right, or it rises up and flows over the top. It finds the path of least resistance. Not because it is lazy, but because it is efficient. It stays true to its nature, which is to flow, and it trusts the law of gravity to keep it moving toward its goal. The river understands something that we have forgotten. It understands that the obstacle is not the end of the journey. It is simply a change in the route. This is the essence of the flow state. Flow is the absence of friction. It is the ability to meet the circumstances of life with total acceptance and immediate adaptation. Now, compare this to how we usually handle the boulders in our lives. When we face a rejection, a financial setback, or a person who says no to our dreams, we behave in the exact opposite way of the river. We crash into the obstacle. We spend days, weeks, or even years complaining about the rock. We waste our precious energy trying to push the rock out of the way, trying to change other people, trying to force situations to be what we think they should be. We argue with reality, and when we cannot move the rock, we often stop flowing altogether. We stagnate. We become a swamp instead of a river. We let one obstacle define our entire existence. But here is the profound secret of water. Water is the softest substance, yet it is the most powerful. Over time, the river that flowed around the rock will eventually wear that rock down to a pebble. It carves canyons through solid stone, not by force, not by violence, but by persistent, rhythmic, aligned movement. This is the power you have access to when you enter the flow state. When you stop fighting the obstacles in your life and start navigating around them, you gain momentum. You conserve your energy for the journey instead of wasting it on the battle. This applies to every aspect of your experience. Think about your career. If a door slams shut in your face, that is a rock. The fighter stands there banging on the door, screaming, begging, and breaking their knuckles. The person in flow acknowledges the closed door, trusts that it is closed for a reason, and immediately looks for the window, or the side entrance, or the path that leads to an entirely different building that is actually better suited for them. They do not take the obstacle personally. They view it as redirection. The river does not hate the rock. It simply uses the rock as leverage to propel itself forward. When you are in this state of flow, you are vibrating at a frequency of trust. You are telling the infinite intelligence that you trust the destination so much that you do not need to control every inch of the route. You understand that sometimes the river must bend to the left to get to the ocean, even if your ego wants to go in a straight line. The straight line is often the path of most resistance. The winding path is often the path of least resistance and greatest speed. This wisdom requires a shift in identity. You must stop seeing yourself as a conqueror who must dominate life, and start seeing yourself as a creator who co-creates with life. When you are aligned with your divine design, you are like the water. You become unstoppable because you are adaptable. Nothing can block a force that refuses to stop moving. If you block water here, it goes there. If you dam it up, it rises until it overflows. It always finds a way. And you, with your divine ingenuity and your connection to the source, will always find a way, provided you do not stiffen up and try to fight the rocks. So, the next time you feel that familiar tension of struggle, the sensation of swimming upstream in molasses, I want you to remember the river. Ask yourself what the water would do in this situation. Would it stress? No. Would it fight? No. It would soften. It would expand. It would find the opening, no matter how small, and it would pour itself through that opening with total confidence. This is how you win the game of life, not by being the rock that stands still and resists, but by being the river that flows, adapts, and eventually reaches the vast, unlimited ocean of your success. to bring these high spiritual principles down from the mountain of theory and into the valley of your daily life. I want to share a story with you. It is a story that perfectly illustrates the difference between forcing a life and allowing a life. This is a true story about a woman I knew. A lovely soul who spent the first 3 decades of her life committing a crime against her own spirit. On paper, she was the definition of success. She was a high-powered lawyer working at a prestigious firm in the city. She came from a dynasty of law. Her father was a lawyer. Her brothers were lawyers. And her cousins were lawyers. It was the family trade. It was the expected path. From the time she was a child, the script had been written for her. And because she was a good person who wanted to please those she loved, she followed that script to the letter. She studied late into the night. She graduated at the top of her class. She passed the bar exam on her first try. She got the corner office and the impressive salary to the outside world. She had made it. But the interior reality was a completely different story. Every single morning, when her alarm went off, she felt a heavy, dark dread settle in her chest. Going to work felt like she was dragging her physical body through broken glass. She was exhausted all the time, not just physically tired, but spiritually depleted. She had no light in her eyes. She thought there was something wrong with her discipline. She thought she just needed to try harder, be tougher, and develop a thicker skin. She prayed for the strength to endure the misery, not realizing that misery is never the will of God for any of his children. She was trying to be a rock when her soul was water. She was trying to stand still and hold ground when her spirit wanted to flow. And because the universe ultimately corrects all imbalance, the correction finally came. It came in the form of a complete nervous breakdown at the age of 32. The machinery of her life simply stopped functioning because it was being used against its design. In that moment of total collapse, when she could no longer hold up the heavy mask of the successful lawyer, the truth finally poured out. She admitted to herself what she had secretly known since she was 7 years old. She did not want to argue cases. She did not want to read contracts. She wanted to be a pastry chef. She wanted to work with her hands. She wanted to smell vanilla and cinnamon. She wanted to bring sweetness into the world. Now, the reasoning mind, the intellect, screamed that this was insanity. The reasoning mind said, you cannot throw away a prestigious degree to bake croissants. The reasoning mind said that is a step down in status. The reasoning mind said, you will disappoint your family. This is the battle we all face. The battle between the ego, which seeks safety and approval, and the intuition, which seeks expression and joy. But she had reached a point where the pain of staying the same was finally greater than the fear of change. So, she made a choice. It was not a reckless leap, but a guided shift. She stopped fighting her nature and started honoring it. She began taking baking classes on the weekends. She stopped forcing herself to care about legal battles that bored her to tears and saved her energy for her passion. And do you know what happened? The moment she stopped pushing the boulder of law and stepped into the river of her true talent, her energy returned. Her health improved. The color came back to her face. She was working harder physically in the kitchen than she ever did at a desk. Yet she was not tired. She was energized. This is the surefire sign of alignment. When you are doing what you are meant to do, the work feeds you. It does not eat you. Within 2 years, through a series of synchronistic events that the reasoning mind could never have planned, she opened her own bakery. It became a sensation. Not just because the food was good, but because people could taste the love in it. They could feel the vibration of a person who was happy. She made more money as a happy baker than she ever did as a miserable lawyer, because wealth follows authenticity. She had found the secret door to success, and she found it by admitting who she really was. This story is not just about her. It is about you. What is the thing you have buried since you were 7 years old? What is the pastry chef living inside of you while you pretend to be a lawyer? Maybe you are an artist disguised as an accountant. Maybe you are a teacher disguised as a salesperson. Maybe you are a writer disguised as a manager. You might be telling yourself that it is too late, or that it is irresponsible, or that you have bills to pay. But I tell you that the most irresponsible thing you can do is to die with your music still inside you. The universe does not need another copy of someone else. It needs the original version of you. You do not have to burn your life down tomorrow. You simply have to start admitting the truth. You have to stop judging your desires as foolish and start respecting them as divine guidance. When you align with your truth, as this woman did, you are not just helping yourself. You are healing the world. A miserable lawyer helps no one. A joyous baker brings light to thousands. Your joy is your purpose. Your alignment is your gift. Do not let the fear of what others will think keep you locked in a prison of your own making. The door is unlocked. You simply have to put down the heavy burden you were never meant to carry and walk through it. Now that we have seen the dramatic difference between a life of force and a life of flow, the most important question naturally arises. You might be asking how you can know for sure if you are in alignment. How do you distinguish between the temporary discomfort of learning a new skill and the deep, toxic pain of being on the wrong path? The answer is closer than you think. In fact, you are living inside the answer right now. Your physical body and your emotional state are not just biological functions. They are a highly sophisticated spiritual GPS system designed to keep you on the path of your divine design. We have been trained by society to ignore this system. We are taught to treat our bodies like machines that we drag around, forcing them to perform regardless of how they feel. We drink coffee to mask the exhaustion. We take pills to mask the headaches. We distract ourselves with screens to mask the anxiety. We treat these symptoms as inconveniences to be silenced rather than messages to be understood. But I am here to tell you that your body is the subconscious mind made visible. Your body cannot lie. Your intellect can lie. Your intellect can rationalize why you should stay in a miserable job because of the pension. Your intellect can convince you that a toxic relationship is acceptable because you have invested 5 years into it. But your body knows the truth, and it is broadcasting that truth to you every single second of the day. The first and most obvious signal is the sensation of dread. I want you to think about your morning routine. When the alarm goes off, what is the very first feeling that hits your chest? Is it a gentle curiosity about the day? Is it a neutral readiness? Or is it a heavy, dark weight that makes you want to pull the covers back over your head? That heaviness is not just laziness or a lack of caffeine. That heaviness is your spirit recoiling from a day that does not fit you. It is your internal guidance system screaming that you are about to spend precious hours of your life doing something that violates your nature. If you wake up with dread more days than not, you are out of alignment. And no amount of positive thinking or affirmations will fix that until you address the root cause. Then there are the physical symptoms that seem to have no medical cause. Do you get a headache every time you walk into your office building? Do you feel a knot in your stomach when a certain person's name appears on your phone? Do you feel physically drained, as if the marrow has been sucked out of your bones? After spending an hour with a specific group of friends, these are not coincidences. This is your energy field reacting to misalignment. When you are in the presence of your good, when you are doing the work you are meant to do, your energy expands. You feel lighter. You might be physically tired after a long day of aligned work, but it is a good tired. It is the satisfaction of a runner who has finished a race. But misalignment brings a bad tired. It is a toxic exhaustion that sleep does not cure because it is a weariness of the soul, not the muscles. We must also talk about anxiety. that constant, low-level hum of nervousness that so many people live with. Often, this anxiety is interpreted as a chemical imbalance, and sometimes it is. But more often, it is a spiritual signal. It is the feeling that you have forgotten something important. Even though you have checked your calendar 10 times, what you have forgotten is yourself. You have abandoned your own needs and your own truth to please others. And your anxiety is simply your intuition knocking on the door, trying to get your attention. It is the GPS saying recalculating. It is telling you that you are broadcasting on the wrong frequency and you need to tune back into your own station. Your emotions are also chatty and precise instruments of this GPS. Look at resentment. Resentment is one of the clearest indicators that you are overstepping your own boundaries or allowing others to overstep them. If you feel resentful toward your boss, your partner, or your children, it is a sign that you are giving from a place of obligation rather than love. You are forcing the yes when your soul wanted to say no. In the kingdom of heaven, which is the realm of perfect harmony, there is no resentment. There is only clear communication and honest action. When you feel anger, do not judge yourself for being unspiritual. Bless the anger, for it is a messenger. It is telling you that a boundary has been crossed and an adjustment is needed. The most profound truth about this spiritual GPS is that it communicates through the sensation of ease versus the sensation of struggle. We have been brainwashed to believe that if something feels good, it must be wrong, or selfish, or indulgent. We are suspicious of joy, but in the divine design, joy is the ultimate green light. What lights you up? What makes you lose track of time? What subjects can you talk about for hours without getting bored? These are the breadcrumbs leading you to your purpose, the things that make you feel expanded, open, and generous are the things that are aligned with God's will for you. God's will is not for you to be a martyr. God's will is for you to be a creator. So I challenge you to stop numbing the signals. Stop shooting the messenger. The next time you feel that contraction in your gut, or that heaviness in your chest, stop and ask the question, what is this telling me? Do not judge the feeling. Do not try to fix it instantly. Just acknowledge it. My body is saying no to this request. My spirit is tired of this environment. By simply listening to the instrument of your body, you begin to steer your ship out of the storm and back into the clear, open waters of your destiny. Trust the vehicle you were given. It knows the way home even when your mind is lost. If you are beginning to recognize these signals in your own body right now, if you feel a resonance of truth in your heart that says you are ready to stop the struggle, I invite you to pause for just a moment. We are building a sanctuary here for those who are ready to align with their divine design. By liking this video and subscribing to the channel, you are not just supporting this work. You are making a silent contract with yourself. You are affirming that you are ready to stop fighting and start flowing. Join our community of creators, and let us continue this journey deeper into the invisible laws of success together. Now that we have learned to listen to the body as our guidance system, we must understand the mechanism behind why this guidance works. We must understand the invisible machinery of the universe. This brings us to the most fascinating and critical part of our journey together, which is the law of vibration. Many people believe that they are isolated entities moving through a solid, unchangeable world. They believe that if they want something, they must go out and hunt it down. But the spiritual truth is that we are not living in a solid world at all. We are living in a sea of energy. We are living in a vibrational universe where everything, from the chair you sit on to the thoughts in your head, is vibrating at a specific frequency. And this brings me to the analogy of the radio, which is perhaps the most perfect way to understand why your struggle has been keeping your success away from you. I want you to pause and think about the room you are sitting in right now. To your eyes, it might look empty or quiet, but in reality, the air around you is absolutely filled with information. There are radio waves passing through your body right this second. There is classical music. There is jazz. There is the news. There is talk radio. There is rock and roll. All of these stations are broadcasting simultaneously. Right here, right now, in the same space. But you cannot hear them. Why? Because you do not have a receiver tuned to their frequency. The music is real. The broadcast is strong. But if your internal radio is turned off, or if it is tuned to static, the music might as well not exist for you. This is exactly how the divine design of your life works. The success you want, the love you crave, the health you deserve, and the abundance you need are not things you have to create from scratch. They are already here. They are already broadcasting. The divine mind has already finished the work. Your perfect life is vibrating right now in the invisible realm. Just like the jazz music in the air, the reason you do not see it in your physical reality is not because it is absent. It is because you are not tuned to it. You are broadcasting and receiving on a completely different frequency. Most people are walking around with their internal radio dials stuck on the frequency of struggle. When you are worried, when you are resentful, when you are frantically pushing that boulder up the hill, you are emitting a low, chaotic vibration. Let us call this station fear. When you are tuned to station fear, you can only hear the songs of fear. You attract more things to worry about. You attract more reasons to struggle. You attract people who are also tuned to fear. It is not that the universe is punishing you. The universe is simply a faithful mirror. It plays back exactly what you are tuned into. You cannot listen to the station of wealth while you are tuned to the frequency of poverty. It is physically impossible. You cannot hear the melody of love while you are broadcasting the static of loneliness. This explains the great paradox that frustrates so many ambitious people. Have you ever wanted something so desperately that you chased it day and night? You gripped it tightly. You obsessed over it. You tried to force it to happen. And yet, it kept running away from you. It felt like the harder you tried, the further it got. That is because desperate wanting is a vibration of lack. When you are desperate, you are shouting to the universe that you do not have it. You are broadcasting, I don't have it. I don't have it. I don't have it. And the universe, which is unbiased and mechanical in its operation, says, okay, you don't have it, and keeps it away from you. You were tuned to the static, so you could not hear the music. But then, remember what happens when you finally let go? Remember the story of the person who stops pushing the boulder? When you stop struggling? When you relax? When you enter the flow state we discussed earlier? You change your frequency. You take your hand off the dial of station fear, and you tune into station faith. Suddenly, the static clears. You feel a sense of peace. You feel a sense of knowing. And in that clear space, the opportunities that were there the whole time suddenly become visible. The phone rings. The email arrives. The person you needed to meet walks into the coffee shop. It looks like magic to the uninitiated eye, but it is not magic. It is mechanics. You simply aligned your receiver with the broadcast of your good. This is why feeling good is so important. We often think that we will feel good once we get the money, or once we get the relationship, but that is backward thinking. You must feel good to get the money. You must feel love to get the relationship. Your emotion is the tuning knob. When you find things to be grateful for right now, when you appreciate the beauty of a sunset, or the taste of your coffee, or the smile of a stranger, you are fine-tuning your radio to the frequency of abundance. You are training your vibration to match the vibration of the life you want. So, The next time you feel like the world is withholding your good from you, stop. Do not work harder. Do not fight more. Check your frequency. Ask yourself what station you are listening to. If you are hearing the static of anxiety, you must consciously switch the station. You must step back, breathe, and remember that the jazz is already playing. The solution is already here. The answer is beating in the air around you. All you have to do is stop generating the noise of resistance so that you can finally hear the symphony that has been playing for you all along. This is the secret of the ages. We do not attract what we want. We attract what we are. Be the music, and the music will find you. We have spoken about the river, the body, and the radio frequencies of the universe. These are powerful concepts, but knowledge without application is merely entertainment. You might be sitting there thinking that you understand the theory, but you need to know exactly how to turn the dial. How do you actually shift from the static of struggle to the symphony of success in your daily life? I am going to give you a tool that is so simple it might seem deceptive, but I promise you that if you use it, it will move mountains. It is a framework I call the 3 A's, which stands for acknowledge, adjust, and allow. This is your roadmap back to alignment. The first step is acknowledge. This sounds easy, but it is actually the step where most people fail because it requires brutal honesty. We are masters at lying to ourselves. We paint over our misery with a thin coat of positive thinking and pretend everything is fine. We tell ourselves we love our job when we actually just love the safety of the paycheck. We tell ourselves we are happy in a relationship when we haven't felt a spark of joy in years. We suppress the signals from our spiritual GPS because we are terrified of what the truth might demand of us. But you cannot heal what you do not reveal. To acknowledge means to sit down with yourself in the silence. Look at your life without flinching, and admit exactly where you are out of alignment. You must say the words, I am unhappy in this career. I am feeling drained by this friendship. I am terrified of being poor. Crucially, you must do this without judgment. This is not a session to beat yourself up. It is a fact-finding mission. You are simply looking at the dashboard of your car and acknowledging that the check engine light is on. You are admitting that you are tuned to the wrong station. When you acknowledge the truth, you stop fighting reality. You stop wasting energy trying to uphold a lie. And in that moment of honesty, you release a massive amount of trapped energy that can now be used for your transformation. Once you have acknowledged the truth, you move to the second step, which is adjust. This is where the rubber meets the road. Now that you know you are off course, you must turn the wheel. But here is the secret that will save you from paralysis. The adjustment does not have to be a catastrophic explosion. You do not have to burn your life to the ground today. You do not have to divorce your spouse or quit your job this afternoon. Small hinges swing big doors. A massive ship is steered by a tiny rudder. Sometimes, the adjustment is simply internal. It is a change of attitude. It is deciding to stop complaining about your current situation, because complaining fastens you to it, and instead, finding one thing to bless about it. Other times, the adjustment is a practical action. It is saying no to the extra project that drains you. It is setting a boundary with a toxic family member. It is waking up 15 minutes earlier to meditate so you can start your day in peace instead of chaos. It is taking one small step toward the thing you love, like signing up for that class or writing that first page. These small adjustments send a powerful signal to the universe. They say that you are waking up. They say that you are taking your hand off the dial of fear and reaching for the dial of faith. Every time you make an aligned choice, no matter how small, you are tuning your receiver closer to the frequency of your good. The third step is allow. This is the hardest step for the human ego, but it is the most essential step for the spiritual being. To allow means to release the stranglehold you have on the outcome. We love to micromanage the universe. We acknowledge our desire. We make an adjustment. And then we immediately try to force exactly how and when the result should appear. We tell God that we want financial freedom, but it must come through a lottery win on Tuesday. We tell the universe we want love, but it must look exactly like the picture we have in our heads. This control is actually resistance. It is fear in disguise. Allowing means you plant the seed. You water it with your adjustments. And then you trust the soil. You do not dig the seed up every hour to see if it is growing. You do not scream at the sun to shine brighter. You allow the natural, divine process to unfold. You live in the state of it is done. You walk with the confidence of someone who knows the order has been placed and delivery is guaranteed. This does not mean you sit on the couch and do nothing. It means you take inspired action, not forced action. You move when you feel the nudge of intuition, not the shove of fear. When you master the art of allowing, you become magnetic. You are no longer chasing your good. You are letting your good catch up to you. You are the river that has stopped fighting the rock and is now flowing effortlessly around it. Knowing that the ocean is inevitable, you acknowledge the obstacle. You adjust your course, and you allow the current of life to carry you forward. This is the rhythm of success. Acknowledge, adjust, allow. If you can practice this dance every day, you will find that the struggle disappears, and the secret door to success swings wide open, inviting you to walk through into the life that has been waiting for you all along. Now I want to apply this framework of the 3 A's to the area of life where people struggle the most, the area that causes the most heartache and confusion, which is love and relationships. This is where the misunderstanding of spiritual law causes the most damage. We live in a society that tells us we must go out and hunt for love. We are told that love is a numbers game, a project to be managed, or a prize to be won. So we approach relationships with the same energy we use to tackle a difficult work project. We force, we push, we strategize. I see so many wonderful people who treat finding a partner like a second full-time job. They are on every dating app. They force themselves to go to events they hate in hopes of meeting someone. They go on 3 dates a week, treating each one like a high-stakes job interview, scanning the other person for flaws, checking boxes, and calculating potential. They are exhausted. They are cynical, and deep down, they are terrified that if they stop searching, they will be alone forever. But here is the spiritual truth that you must understand. You can never find what you are looking for if you are vibrating at the frequency of lack. When you are desperately searching for love, your underlying vibration is, I am alone, and I need someone to complete me. This is a frequency of neediness, and in the vibrational universe, neediness is the strongest repellent known to man. It acts like an invisible shield that pushes people away. Even if you meet the perfect person, your desperate energy will make them feel suffocated or uneasy, often without them even knowing why. You are trying to fill a hole in your soul with another person. But no person can fill that hole. Only your own alignment with your divine self can make you whole. So how do we use the 3 A's to fix this? First, you acknowledge. You admit that your current strategy of forcing love is not working. You admit that it feels heavy, draining, and joyless. You admit that you are tired of performing and pretending. Then, you adjust. This is the scary part for the ego. The adjustment is to stop looking. I do not mean you hide in a cave. I mean you stop the frantic, desperate search. You delete the apps that make you feel like a commodity. You stop going to bars if you hate bars. You stop forcing conversations with strangers just because they might be the one. Instead, you turn that energy back toward yourself. You ask yourself what actually brings you joy. What did you love to do before you became obsessed with finding a partner? Maybe you love pottery. Maybe you love hiking. Maybe you love reading in quiet coffee shops on Sunday mornings. You start doing those things, not to find a partner, but to find yourself. You take the love you were trying to give to a stranger and you give it to your own life. You fill your days with activities that make you vibrate with excitement and contentment. This leads to the third step, which is allow. When you are genuinely happy, when you are lost in the joy of painting a canvas or walking a trail, you undergo a vibrational shift. You move from the frequency of needing to the frequency of having. You become radiant. You become magnetic. A person who is in love with their own life is the most attractive person in the room. You are no longer a beggar at the door of love. You are a king or a queen in your own kingdom. And this is when the magic happens, because you are now vibrating at a frequency of joy and authenticity. You become visible to people who match that frequency. You might look up from your book in that coffee shop and lock eyes with someone who is also there because they love the quiet. You might meet someone in that pottery class who loves the same messiness of creation that you do. The connection happens effortlessly. It flows. There is no forcing, no games, no pretense. You fit together because you are both moving in the same stream of life. This principle applies to existing relationships just as powerfully. If you are constantly trying to fix your partner, if you are nagging, criticizing, and trying to force them to change, you are in resistance. You are focusing on what is missing, and therefore you are creating more of it. But if you withdraw your attention from their flaws and focus on your own alignment, if you start bringing your best, happiest self to the relationship without demanding anything in return, the dynamic must change. They will either rise to meet your new vibration, or they will naturally fall away to make room for someone who can. Love is not something you go out and get. Love is something that comes to you when you are ready to receive it. It is like a butterfly. If you chase it, you will never catch it. But if you sit quietly in your garden, tending to your flowers and enjoying the sun, it will come and land on your shoulder. Stop chasing. Stop fighting. Tend to the garden of your own soul. Make your life so beautiful and so full of joy that love cannot help but want to be a part of it. This is the law of attraction in its purest form. Like attracts like. Be the love you wish to see, and the love you seek will see you. Now, we must address the subject that generates the most fear and the most resistance in the human experience. We have talked about alignment in love. But many of you are sitting there thinking that love is fine, but you cannot pay your rent with alignment. You are thinking that money is a cold, hard, physical reality that plays by a different set of rules. I am here to tell you that this belief is the only thing standing between you and your financial freedom. The same spiritual law that governs the flow of a river and the attraction of love governs the accumulation of wealth. Money is not evil, and money is not difficult. Money is simply energy. It is a spiritual substance that has taken on visible form, and it flows in response to the vibration you offer. The great mistake most people make is that they look to their job, their clients, or the economy as the source of their supply. They believe their paycheck comes from their boss. They believe their security comes from their bank account balance. This is a spiritual error. Your job is not your source. Your clients are not your source. These are merely channels. There is only one source, and that is the Father within, the infinite intelligence that created you and sustains you. When you look to the channels for your security, you are filled with fear because channels can close. A boss can fire you. A client can leave. The economy can shift. But when you realize that God is your supply, and that He can use any channel to reach you, you stop worshiping the faucet and start trusting the reservoir. When you are in a state of struggle with money, it is usually because you are trying to force a channel that has dried up. or you are working in a way that violates your own spirit. I see people every day who stay in jobs they despise because they are terrified of poverty. They drag themselves to work, cursing the traffic, resenting their boss, and complaining about their tasks. They do not realize that every moment of resentment is a dam they are building against their own prosperity. You cannot attract wealth while you are vibrating with the energy of resentment. It is spiritually impossible. When you hate what you do, you pinch the hose of abundance. You might squeeze out enough to survive, but you will never thrive because you are working against the divine design. To open the secret door to financial success, you must change your relationship with your work. If you cannot leave your job right now, you must change your vibration about it. You must see it as a stepping stone. You must bless it for paying your bills today while you prepare for your true work tomorrow. But ultimately, you must move toward the work that uses your unique talents. There is a reason you have certain gifts and passions. They are the keys to your treasury. When you do what you love, when you lose yourself in the act of creation or service, you are vibrating at the highest possible frequency. This is the frequency where money naturally exists. Wealth is a byproduct of value, and you provide the most value when you are operating in your zone of genius. Think of the most successful people you know. Do they look like they are suffering? No. They are playing. They are expressing. And because they are aligned with their gifts, the world rewards them with abundance. You might say you have bills to pay and cannot afford to follow your passion. I say you cannot afford not to. The cost of your misery is far higher than the risk of your dreams. When you take a step toward your true purpose, even a small step, the universe takes 10 steps toward you. Unseen forces come to your aid. Unexpected checks arrive in the mail. New opportunities present themselves. This is the Father within responding to your act of faith. You must also change how you handle the money you currently have. Many people treat their money with fear and greed. They clench their fists when they pay a bill. They worry about every cent spent. This tight energy stops the flow. You must learn to circulate money with a spirit of trust. When you pay a bill, do not resent it. Bless the service you received. Be grateful that you have the money to pay it. Say to yourself that I have a vast, invisible supply, and this money returns to me multiplied. When you spend with fear, you are telling the universe that there is not enough. When you spend with gratitude, you are telling the universe that you trust the supply is endless. There is a divine design for your wealth, just as there is for your health. It is God's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Poverty is a disease of the mind, and prosperity is a state of consciousness. If you are currently facing a financial desert, stop looking at the empty sand. Stop talking about your debts. Stop rehearsing your lack. Turn your inner eye to the abundance of the universe. Visualize yourself with more than enough. Feel the relief of financial freedom before the money arrives. Act as if you are already supported. When you work in partnership with the infinite, you do not have to hustle and grind until you burn out. You do work. Yes, but it is inspired work. It is efficient work. It is joyous work. And because you are aligned, the friction disappears. You find that you can achieve more in 4 hours of flow than you used to achieve in 40 hours of force. The struggle ends where faith begins. Trust that your gift is needed. Trust that your needs are met. Trust that the Father within knows exactly what you need before you even ask. And it is His delight to provide it when you stop blocking the way with your fear. Open your hands. Open your heart. And let the river of abundance flow. We have traveled a long way together in this message. We have talked about the flow of the river, the wisdom of the body, and the spiritual truth of money and love. But I know that even as your heart says yes to this new way of living, your mind is raising objections. There are giants standing in the land of your success, blocking the path to your divine design. These giants look terrifying. They cast long shadows that make you feel small and helpless. These giants are the opinions of others, the illusion of time, and the paralyzing grip of fear. Today we are going to look these giants in the eye and realize that they have no power over you unless you give it to them. Let us begin with the giant that hurts the most, which is the criticism and resistance from other people. When you start to align with your truth, when you stop complaining and start flowing, when you begin to honor your own needs, something strange will happen. You expect your friends and family to applaud you, but often, they do the opposite. They push back. They make snide comments. They tell you that you are being selfish, or unrealistic, or that you have changed. They try to guilt you back into your old box. This can be devastating if you do not understand the spiritual mechanics at play. You must understand that people grow comfortable with who you used to be. They relied on your compliance. They relied on you being the doormat, or the fellow sufferer who would sit and complain with them for hours. When you change your vibration, you break the unspoken contract of shared misery. Your light shines into the corners of their lives where they are not yet ready to look. Your courage reminds them of their own fear. Your success highlights their own stagnation. Their reaction is not about you. It is about their own internal discomfort. They are trying to pull you back down, not because they hate you, but because your alignment makes them feel unsafe. Do not let them. This is the moment where you must stand your ground. You are not responsible for managing other people's emotions. You are responsible for your own soul. If you shrink back to make them comfortable, you serve no one. You simply add 2 miserable people to the world instead of 1. But if you hold your frequency, if you stay in your joy and your power, regardless of their opinion, you become a lighthouse. Eventually, they will either rise to meet you in this new place of light, or they will drift away to find someone else who matches their old vibration. Either way, you are free. Next, we face the giant of time. I hear this excuse more than any other. You say you are too old to start over. You say it is too late to pursue your dream. You say you do not have time to meditate or find alignment because you are too busy surviving. This is a trick of the ego. The ego uses time as a weapon to keep you paralyzed. The spiritual truth is that you exist in the eternal now. It is never too late because the power to change is always in the present moment. Cool. Sanders did not start his franchise until he was in his 60s. Grandma Moses did not start painting until she was nearly 80. The years you have lived were not wasted. They were preparation. They were the gathering of wisdom. And as for not having enough time in your day, let us be honest about where your time goes. You do not lack time, you lack focus. Think of the hours spent worrying, dreading, scrolling through social media, or recovering from the exhaustion of doing work you hate. Misalignment is the greatest thief of time. When you are fighting the river, it takes you 10 hours to do what could be done in 1 hour of flow. When you align with your purpose, you gain access to a boundless energy. You become efficient. You become sharp. You will find that when you honor your spirit, time expands to accommodate your needs. Stop saying you do not have time. Say instead that you are making space for what matters. Finally, we meet the biggest giant of all, which is fear. Fear of failure. Fear of poverty. Fear of the unknown. Fear is a liar. In the spiritual realm, fear is simply faith in evil. It is the conviction that things will go wrong. It is using your God-given power of imagination to visualize a disaster instead of a victory. Why would you use your greatest gift against yourself? When you feel fear, it is usually because you are trying to figure out the how. You are trying to predict the future with a mind that can only see the past. You do not need to know how the path will unfold. You only need to know the next step. Fear says, "What if I fall?" Faith says, What if I fly? The pain of staying the same is a guaranteed, slow death of the spirit. The fear of change is acute, but it is the doorway to life. Feel the fear and do it anyway. The moment you take action, the fear dissolves. It is like a fog. It looks solid from a distance, but when you walk into it, there is nothing there. These giants, critics, time, and fear are not solid walls. They are smoke. They are shadows cast by your own doubts. When you turn on the light of your faith, shadows cannot exist. You are supported by the entire universe. You have the power of the word. You have the guidance of your intuition. No weapon formed against you shall prosper when you are in alignment with your divine design. So, look at these giants and laugh. Tell them they have no power here. Step past them. Walk through the smoke and claim the victory that has been yours from the very beginning. The only thing that can stop you is you. And today, you are choosing to stop fighting and start flowing. We have reached the final moment of our journey together, and I have saved the most powerful lesson for last. We have talked about the river that flows, the body that guides, and the giants that try to block the way. But now, you are standing in front of your own personal Jericho. In the ancient scriptures, the city of Jericho was a fortress with walls so high and so thick that no human army could break through them. It was the ultimate obstacle standing between the people and their promised land. You have a Jericho in your life right now. Maybe it is a mountain of debt that looks impossible to climb. Maybe it is a chronic illness that the doctors say cannot be cured. Maybe it is a broken relationship that seems beyond repair. You look at these walls and your reasoning mind tells you that there is no way in. You calculate the odds. You look at your resources, and you despair because you are trying to fight a spiritual battle with physical weapons. But I want you to remember the story of how those walls actually came down, because it contains the secret code to your miracle. The instruction given to Joshua was not to build battering rams. It was not to dig tunnels or to starve the city out. The instruction was baffling to the human intellect. They were told to march around the walls in silence for 6 days. And on the 7th day, they were told to shout, not to shout for help, but to shout a shout of victory. And when they shouted, the walls did not slowly crumble or chip away. They fell flat. They vanished as an obstacle instantly. There are 3 critical keys in this story that you must apply to your life today if you want to see your own walls fall. The first key is the march of non-resistance. They walked around the problem, but they did not touch the problem. They did not attack the walls. This is exactly what we discussed earlier about the river. You must keep moving. You must keep living your life. You must keep doing your daily work. But do not attack the obstacle. Do not obsess over the problem. Do not wake up every morning and check to see if the debt is still there or if the illness is still there. Walk around it with the confidence that it is already resolved. The second key is the silence. This is the hardest part for most of us. The people were commanded not to say a word while they marched. Why? Because God knew that if they spoke, they would complain. They would say to each other that these walls are too big, or that this plan is ridiculous, or that we are going to die out here. Their words would have cemented the walls in place because words are vibrations. If you are affirming your problem, you are rebuilding the wall every single day. You must stop talking about your lack. You must stop gossiping about your troubles. You must stop telling your sad story to anyone who will listen. If you cannot speak faith, then keep silent. Starve the problem of your negative attention. The third and most important key is the shout. This is the Jericho moment. Notice that they did not shout after the walls fell down. Anyone can do that. That is just a reaction. They shouted while the walls were still standing up. They shouted in the face of the obstacle. This is the ultimate definition of faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for. the evidence of things not seen. The shout was a vibration of absolute certainty. It was a declaration that the victory was already won in the spiritual realm, even though the physical eyes could not yet see it. So I am asking you right now, what is your shout? Your shout is your affirmation. Your shout is your attitude of gratitude. Your shout is acting as if you have already received. When you wake up in the morning and give thanks for your perfect health, even if your body is in pain, you are shouting at the wall. When you write a check with gratitude for the abundance you have, even if your bank account is low, you are shouting at the wall. When you prepare a space in your closet for the partner who has not shown up yet, you are shouting at the wall. You are sending out a vibration so powerful, so high, and so pure that the low vibrations of the obstacle cannot sustain themselves. The walls of Jericho did not fall because of physics. They fell because of frequency. The vibration of the shout shattered the structure of the stone. Your problem has a structure. It is held together by your fear and your belief in it. When you withdraw your fear and replace it with the shout of victory, the structure collapses. It has to. It is the law. The obstacle simply dissolves, and you walk over it as if it were level ground. So, here is my final challenge to you. Do not wait for the money to shout. Do not wait for the healing to rejoice. Do not wait for the ring to celebrate love. Do it now. Shout your victory today. Live in the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Walk with the posture of a person who has already won. Treat every person you meet as if you are already the success you dream of being. You have the power to dissolve every wall in your life. You have the power to turn every battlefield into a playground. You have the power to stop fighting and start flowing. The divine design of your life is waiting for you to claim it. The secret door to success is standing right in front of you. And it is not locked. It never was. Push it open with your faith. Walk through it with your gratitude. And never look back at the struggle again. You are free. You are powerful. You are supported. Now go out there, take a deep breath, and let your life flow. Thank you for watching, and welcome to your new beginning. If this message unlocked a door within your mind today, do not let the feeling fade. Subscribe to this channel so you remain plugged into this frequency of truth and empowerment. I ask you to share this video with someone you know who is currently pushing a boulder uphill. Be the messenger of their freedom. And finally, leave a comment below declaring your victory. Write down your shout. We will meet again soon to unlock more secrets of the game of life. Until then, keep your faith high, keep your resistance low, and keep flowing.